What's up, Barebow Project? Listen, this is episode 39. Mr. John Wert finally came on the podcast. I wish that Demmer could have joined us for this. Unfortunately, it just wasn't happening. And then we get into negative self-talk, the negative mindset, and kind of how that affects you as a barebow or any archery, but as a competitor. But listen, before you listen to this, you have a fee. All right, your fee is that if this podcast, any previous podcast, really helps you, if you get a laugh, if you get something useful out of it, if you just enjoy it, period, please share the podcast. You can share it from YouTube, share the audio version, it doesn't matter. That's your fee. Okay, that's all we ask. Or it helps get the word out about what we are trying to teach and the information we're trying to provide. So yeah, that's it. That's all we ask. That's why I'm just saying there's a fee. You don't have to listen to me rant about sponsors, but your fee is to share the podcast, so that we can get the information out there. All right, enjoy this episode. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon. There it is, recording in progress. We're officially recording episode 39 of the Barebow Project. You guys notice I didn't put this one out there because I think less and less I'm going to, and I'm just going to record because it is what it is. But I am joined this evening with Mr. John Wert, my friend, my good friend. Look at you. You look got the collared shirt on, looking all special. What's up, man? How are you?
Doing good. Just put two toddlers to sleep just in time to get to the podcast. And I checked my camera to I haven't done a Zoom meeting in a while. So I checked how I looked and decided to put a different shirt on. So
that's funny. You're like, oh, I gotta see what I look like. Demmer never does that. He looks like a complete bum 99% of the time.
He looks like a homeless person. You're right.
He's our favorite homeless barebow shooter. No, it's all good, man. It's all good. I know you've been we got to hang out quite a bit at ETAR and spend the weekend together. We had a great time. And I know you've been doing some things. You've kind of been out of the limelight a little bit with us, because you had some career changes and you did some things. So what's going on with John? Where are you at?
So the real short story is, just before COVID, I left Lancaster Archery after 10 years at Lancaster Archery. I went with a company called Old Mountain Archery. Old Mountain was owned and run by several of the guys from the original SAMIC. And they had a new company, Old Mountain Archery. I teamed up with them for just a few months, but it wasn't the best match for either one of us. It wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. So only 3 months after doing that, I cut ties there, and been working on a few things. I was with Lancaster Archery for 10 years, and best work experience of my life. Sure. It was something that I really enjoyed, and never had a job that was quite as rewarding as what I was doing there. And so, but about maybe 3 years into my 10 years, I had decided that I knew that I wanted to do something similar for myself. I wanted my own company, my own archery company. And, it took me a long time to make the break from Lancaster. just because it's a fun place to work. And, it's the big stage in archery. It's a platform that, Rob had that I could stand on for a while, and really touch the whole bigger archery community. So I appreciate and enjoy remembering working there, but I always wanted to do my own thing. And, in 2022, there will be some of my own things. So I can tell you more about that as we come to the end of the year, beginning of next year.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Cool. I think that's amazing. I love the entrepreneurial spirit, and, the archery industry from a business standpoint is not the easiest thing to break into. And, but for Barebow to have someone like yourself willing to take that plunge, you've already done a lot for Barebow, and I don't want to pump you full of sunshine, but I'm going to anyway. Lancaster Archery provided a platform for Barebow, which you were you led that charge for us. And I say us as in the community, not the Barebow project by any means.
Right, right.
So many people are, and I want you to know, this is just from a friend to a friend, like, we are all very grateful for the work that you did with Lancaster. However, I also can completely understand the idea of, like, it's a little bit of self-fulfillment when it comes from a business standpoint. Like, you have aspirations, you have knowledge that you want to put to test and be able to provide things that you think will help people. And that's, so like, I totally commend you for that, because it takes some kahunas, it takes some, some hard work, and very few people understand that level. So I appreciate you for taking that risk a lot. But
from my point of view, I'm not taking as much risk as I was willing to take just before COVID, and I'll be working part-time. So it's not as risky, which is good. But it also allows me to completely control it and do it exactly the way I want to do it, which is what I wanted. Which, starting with Old Mountain, what I wanted was more ability to direct control the direction we were going. And I had some, but there was just too much that was out of my reach that I couldn't completely steer. So this works out better, less risk, because it's not all that I'm doing, but
sure.
It's what I've always wanted to do. It's what I've wanted to do since probably 2013 or 14, after a few years of experience with Lancaster Archery. So, awesome. And I enjoyed my time there. I think it was a special time for traditional archery. In 2010, not a lot of people knew the name John Demmer. I did, because back then I thought I could beat him at local state tournaments, because I was just keeping score and I'd look for him at tournaments, and I thought, well, I'm going to beat him next year if I don't beat him this year. But little did I know that things were going to get out of reach pretty quickly. But things changed from 2010 to today. Barebow archery has changed a lot. Yeah. I am glad that I was sitting right there with a front row seat to it. And, for what I could do to influence, the whole machine of Lancaster archery, what I could do to help steer it towards helping Barebow people, was just fun for me. So, and when people think that I, did this or did that, I was just trying to make my company, someplace that I enjoyed working, and increasing our Barebow stuff was what I enjoyed. So it was pretty easy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you were literally the first person I spoke to about switching from Olympic to Barebow. Me, you were the first person because I didn't know who else to go to, and you know, and you basically, the conversation went something like this. To paraphrase the conversation, it was, Frank, are you going to go to the Olympics? Are you chasing that because you really think you're going to go? And I was like, well, I really want to coach this. I want to be able to coach it. He was like I said, if you're not planning to put that time in, he goes, you're basically like, you're a good shooter. You'll have more fun shooting barebow.
Yeah.
And you could probably do something. So, but and you were 100% right. I mean, 150% right. It was, it's good. And I appreciate you. And I'm glad that you did, because here we are. And even this project has come a very, very long way. In, pre-COVID, we're a little rough around the edges. I'm still a little rough around the edges, but when it comes to information and stuff, so, and like, you were the catalyst that provided that, so I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you a ton. But anyway,
So let me quick
go ahead.
tell you about the Barebow project, and I've told you this before. There's a lot of great coaches out there. We've got a lot more than we, when I started in 2010, there was Rod Jenkins was doing a great job. A lot of people would go, a lot of associates I knew would go to see Ricky Welch to work on archery stuff. There wasn't a ton of coaching back then. Since then, we've gotten so much more. And the push guys, Tom Klum and the guys, and you guys, and I just want to let you know that I think you're doing a fantastic job. I think that one of the most important things about the Barebow project and the way it approaches coaching is you're one of the most involved competitive coaches, meaning it's hard to understand competition, and specifically Barebow competition, unless you are immersing yourself in the competition. And there's some things you don't learn or don't completely understand until you have spent that time preparing for an event, competing in an event, and then looking back on how you managed that event. And I think that's a key aspect of what your show is doing and what your discussions are doing, is they're bringing really intimate knowledge of competing with the traditional bow that you don't get unless you're a competitor. And I think that's a really important factor for what you're doing and why what the Barebow project is so valuable. So just so you know, I really value what you guys are doing. And I wish I
appreciate that.
Been able to spend more time with you, but we talk enough. So
yeah, we do talk quite a bit. And I'm not gonna lie, like, there's conversations, like, even like Demmer and I will have conversations where we're like, sometimes we're like, man, do people listen to what we say? And I know that they do, but it gets frustrating sometimes because you try to explain to people, we're not just telling you this because, or we're not giving this information out because that's just our opinion. We're just telling you, like, John, very first episode we recorded, and it has always resonated with me. John come right out and say, like, listen, I made years of mistakes to try to get to this point and try to fix those things. Now, while it's a microcosm of the years of experience that Demmer has, the Barebow project kind of has picked up that same notion, but has done it in a smaller scale. Except and I have developed as a competitor throughout the Barebow project. I wasn't, and now working with other shooters and developing them. And it's even my philosophy from our first episode to now has changed dramatically. So it's one of those things where we're speaking from reality. We're speaking from what's actually working and what has at this point, just provided results. Like, statistical results if you want to go by score. And but it's nice to hear someone say that, because I don't know if anyone's ever said that before, and that's the approach that we try to go with.
Well, I just can tell because I can see it all. I've been around a lot of it. I've competed myself. I know the difference between perspective that's coming from somebody who is doing this and has really tested a lot of this for themselves in competition. Ashish said hi. Hi, Ashish.
Yes.
I don't know who else did, but I got a pop up on my phone, so I can't read the messages on the screen. But
there's not a lot of messages going. It's just some. John Lewis popped in.
Hi, John.
Ashish, Dan McCullough. There's 15 people watching, but they're the only ones that commented. So if you guys want to say hi to John Wert, by all means, go ahead. But yeah, no, it's really an honor to hear you say that about what we're trying to do and the information. And I've learned a lot with like doing the seminars and seeing. I was just messaging actually Leslie Winker, I think also she's in here. She's in North Carolina. She was messaging me tonight. I didn't tell her we were going to pop on and record. But she was messaging me because we had the last seminar at First Flight with her and John. And she messaged me that, she's had some struggles since making the changes, which, Leslie, if you are still watching, I did warn you that would probably happen at some point right after major changes. If all of you that are listening to this, if you make changes, you will oftentimes see a quick decline. But if you stick with them, and if you're listening to and doing it correctly, you will see an improvement. But anyways, she went and was like, but then, I'm seeing some positive. And then she shot earlier today and shot like a 240 something half. She's like, I'm going back this evening to shoot, and I just got it, I got to do this. And then she broke 250 I'm assuming that's the first time, broke 250 this
Wow.
evening. And she just took the seminar a few weeks ago. And Leslie's like, for those of you who don't know, like Leslie she's a high-end compound shooter. She is a very successful, she knows the game. She's a level 4 coach. So like, and Leslie's like, don't take this the wrong way. Like this, she's like the student from hell. I'm just kidding, completely kidding. But she's like, she analyzes every word that comes out of my mouth. She's like, so why do I, and how come? And it's not like she's not like, no, she's like, she just needed to process it and understand it in her brain. And then I would explain it, and then she'd be like, okay. And it's working. And
Great.
It's working. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I know John and Leslie both competed all over the country in compound. They were great customers of mine at ASA and IBO events when I was on the trailer. And it was fun to see them sort of just slowly picking it up and getting interested in Barebow. And then finally, both of them just shooting phenomenally. So
yeah,
but it doesn't feel, they feel like they're new at this to me, because I watched them change from compound shooting to Barebow, but they've been doing this for a long time now.
Yeah, and neither of them are. Winker's not new to Barebow anymore. We can't call him new. But Leslie's new, but Leslie is super, super driven and talented. And I am excited to see that if she continues to pursue Barebow and what she can do in the senior ladies category, because she has a competitor's mindset. So, she knows what she needs to do. But, and then that topic, so that's a good segue into the topic that we were going to talk about. And it's just that I called it negative Nancy's. Sorry, I wasn't trying to be, whatever, but it's just a term. But in the title, because we're having a discussion, everyone, I'm going to preface the conversation with this. We're having a discussion, and John and I have had coaching discussions before, multiple times, whatever. And it was just good to catch up with him and then also have this discussion. Recently I had two shooters, young shooters, shooting next to each other, high-end competitors. They were both having a bad day. And you could see it if you sit back and watch, and especially in that circumstance. So for you coaches out there, and also for you competitors, like, they were just, the negative energy was feeding off of each other. And so from a coaching, a parent, or a shooter standpoint, whatever you can do to pull that person out of that negative mindset, try it. It's tough, and there's a difference between like empathy and hard love. And when you're a coach or a parent, you have to juggle that decision on what direction to go with it. In this situation, I waited till the first half, and then I basically said, like, listen, you two are actually feeding off each other right now. One person needed to make a quick make a correction, but it was a significant correction, but or an insignificant correction that had a major impact. And the other one just was a little bit out of shooting form because it had been a little bit.
Yeah.
But and just to get into this positive mindset thing, Demmer, Grayson, we talk about it all the time. It took me way too long to get it through my thick skull and listen to them. It's that notion of, you can't say I can't, number one. Never ever allow anything negative to come out of your mouth. If you do allow something negative to come out of your mouth, replace it with something positive immediately. So John, this positive self-talk, this not being negative, not letting, how this affects people, it's not just Barebow, it's everything.
Yep.
Let's talk about it.
So here's the honest truth for me is I'm not good at it. I'm not good at positive affirmation. I fall into negative traps all the time, especially in archery. But I grew up hunting, and hunting with a bow came in high school. Never competed with a bow until I was in my late 20s, probably. But I wrestled my whole life. I wrestled in college, and that's a mental sport too. But before you get to that situation, the first thing is, if you, like one of your students today, or this weekend when they were shooting, one of them you said hadn't been practicing much and showed up to the tournament and was shooting poorly. First of all, most of us don't really deserve to feel that kind of confidence unless we've actually worked at it. So it was the same with wrestling. I didn't have to talk myself into confidence. Most of the time I brought it with me because I trained really hard. I competed at a high level. I did well in college. And I expected to win most of the time because I knew I was working harder at it than most people. So as a person who allows negative energy to come in, my only real protection from that was building a level of confidence prior to the competition that couldn't be assaulted by any means once I got there.
Yeah.
But from an archery perspective, we're all amateurs. Many people are going to basically shoot once a week at their local league and then go and shoot tournaments. So it's not like you are, it's not like you're training 5 or 6 days a week for this game that we're all playing. Some people are. I mean,
some people definitely are.
Some people are. And before I had kids, and when I worked at Lancaster Archery, I had a key to the range. So I would go in at midnight, shoot for 2 hours, hang my bow up at the range, and just come back the next morning and start shooting again. So I could shoot 2 times a day, 7 days a week if I wanted to. To be honest, when I first started at Lancaster Archery, there's the small shooting range annex just outside of the building.
Yep.
Where the classic used to be held, which is incredible.
That is incredible to think.
There was one office there. It was my desk. So it was my desk. So there's a roll-up garage door at the back of the range. There used to be.
Yeah.
And there was one desk, a workbench, and then 20 target bales at the other end. And then the whole big, the antique bow collection, as well as the semi-truck toy collection. And so it was my office. So I could literally get off of a phone call with the customer, stand up, walk about 5 or 10 feet, shoot an end, and sit back down at my desk and get on the phone with another customer. So some people can train 5 days a week.
Right.
I no longer can. And so I'm totally susceptible to game day anxiety and those meltdowns. I don't melt down like your teenagers were melting down, but internally I'm melting down in a similar fashion. So I'm kind of weak in that sense, but
no, but I wouldn't call it weak, but I think you're on a very important topic though, and it's the idea, like, you build confidence. What I have learned and what I definitely teach is that you build confidence in your preparation and your knowledge about your own shot. So, if you are going into a competition, like there's a bunch of people that are coming to the Lancaster Archery Classic, it's okay to come to the class and be like, listen, I'm just going to have fun, and it's a fun shoot, and see people and hang out. If that's your approach, that's fine. And I think that's great. But if you're going into it and you have to understand, like, it's kind of like a two-way street. If you're going to the classic, but if at any point in time you start to go down a negative rabbit hole, then you really wanted to prepare more and you didn't, or you're just there to have fun, but you really want to do better, then you got to work harder. And I think if there's one thing that I personally, like as a coach, that I want to change, and it comes from my experience with CrossFit and weightlifting, I want to change the aspect of archery where people are like, well, I just shoot arrows 5 days a week and I think I'm going to get better. And I want to change the notion that you want to go into a tournament with absolute confidence. You need to be doing drills. You need to be doing this. You need to be doing that. You need to physically be preparing yourself. You need to be eating right. You need to be resting. You need to have water. You need to do all these things. Like I want people to change their mindset and approach archery with like an athletic sense. Like, you are an athlete, treat yourself like one, prepare like one. Guys like Demmer, Grayson, Rick Stonebreaker, guys who maybe have shot for years and they have that thick foundation of competitive experience, might not have to do as much of that stuff. But for the people who are trying to come up through, what I'm saying and what I teach is like, that's what you need to do to get to that point, and you will get there a lot quicker. You might not be as consistent as those people, those names I mentioned prior, but you'll get there. And like when it comes to confidence and being able to keep that positive mindset, it's just like we don't understand how our own brain works sometimes. We don't even know that we're being negative. So if you don't know you're being negative, you don't know you can't replace it with something positive. And all you're doing is you're never going to achieve personal excellence at all. You're just going to sabotage your own personal ability to get better. You know what I mean? You're sabotaging your own potential.
Yes. And here's another thing that's unique to archery that a lot of people don't understand is that so you get to a tournament, let's say you've prepared well as you can expect to prepare given your lifestyle and what you're trying to achieve, and you get there and things start to break down. Here's one important factor that must be made distinct, and that is that when your confidence is starting to fail, you can't simply decide to be determined to break through it. In fact, often it's distracting oneself, relaxing by letting go of, you know,
The thing, whatever it
of
is.
whatever it is that's got you.
Yeah.
And so it's a passive type of response, not an active, I'm determined to shoot this next shot perfectly.
Yeah.
You have to let go and just, like has become cliche in archery, trust the process. But it's true. You
true.
have to let the shot roll without, without being too critical. Just let it roll like it did when you were practicing or when you were drilling and things like that.
Yep.
But deciding to change on the next shot is often is often actually squeezing too hard onto it, and it's going to cause it to break down again. And relaxing and letting go, distancing yourself from it is often better.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right.
That's a key distinction, because I hear a lot of people say that, they're going to do this or they're going to do that next. But that often causes even more anxiety than you had in the past. So somehow learning how to take your focus off of it is important.
No, I think it's not. I think what happens is they focus so hard on not doing the thing that they just did that they forget about doing what you're supposed to do to have a successful shot. So like we're focused, say it's a grip thing, and you notice that you have more tension in your bow hand than you normally do. So instead, on the next shot, you focus, you're so like incredibly focused on that one thing that you forget about everything else. And that's like, again, so you're just taking one negative thing that you were like, and if you made like like I said, people roll their eyes or puff and puff or whatever. Like, and I'll occasionally, like, I'll do it too. Like, I kind of roll my eyes at myself and I'll be like, you idiot. And then I'll be like, nope, I'm not going to go there. I will just start from stance and I will shoot this shot as good as I possibly can. And try to hit all of I call them performance points, hit all the performance points. Make sure I do the shot the way I know that the shot lands the arrow in the middle. We all know what it feels like to have one of those shots where you're just like, oh, that felt so good. That was perfect. It went right in the middle. So that's the shot that how do you repeat that shot? How do you get to know that shot? How do you get, and it sounds so weird, how do you get intimate with that shot and be like, I know exactly what I need to do to repeat that shot? So many people don't know. That's probably the thing that I've learned the most. Like one of the biggest epiphanies for me is like, people don't know how to repeat that shot. All they know is that they might have that one good shot, and then the next shot, because they want it so bad, they stare at the tip of the arrow too much, they get stuck below, and then they go poof, and explode out of it. And it's just, then that happens, and then that's when the negative mindset sets in. And as people are going in, there's a lot of aspiring barebow shooters, there's a lot of aspiring barebow coaches. And I guess that's just why I thought that this discussion would be an important one. And to try to like explain to people, no one cares about your score other than you. So stop caring about it, because that's probably the one thing that's leading you down the negative rabbit hole.
And you get into a bad situation. A tournament can go from something you've been looking forward to for months to something you want to just get over with and get home and, start over again, because, your first end, you wrecked what you thought you were going to do for the whole weekend. So manage expectations is important. If you're going to Lancaster Archery Classic to make the cut or to win the classic, you're already training now, and you're training with purpose. If you just want to go and be with the group, which is fine. Most of the people just want to go and do that. You know, you maybe will have more fun and enjoy the experience if you've managed your expectations, and expect to shoot a little bit lower than what you would average at home but if your goal is to win it, if your goal is to make the podium at the end, you have to be training hard already now. And when you get there, you'll know how to break that shot so it lands in the center. It's funny watching the finals on YouTube, and you see all the comments about accuracy, because obviously in the finals, these are archers who almost didn't miss the yellow the whole qualification, and they're using the entire target face sometimes in the finals, and people who don't know any better are criticizing what they're doing, but they simply don't understand how hard that is. So
yeah. Oh yeah, it's funny. It's funny to me to see that. I've noticed, I picked up on that as well. And it gives you a higher level of appreciation for guys like Rich Barker,
Yep.
Mike Fisher, Dillinger, in 2019,
Amazing.
2020, and they barely missed the gold in that final match, in the finals period, to be quite honest with you. And it really is an eye opener to, and again, I'm going to emphasize this to everyone that's listening to this now while it's being recorded live, and who listen to the recorded and the video version. Use caution with the information that you absorb online, and rather pay attention to those names, the things that those people are doing. If you have questions about it, if you're not concerned about it, they'll probably answer it, or you can come to us and we'll try to help you. But don't absorb information online from people who aren't doing it, and then preach it like it's gospel. Understand, like, the reason it works for them is because they have a very refined system. And you look at, like, that point that you just made about the difference in what you see, say number 8 and number 7 coming in versus what you see in the final 2 on the podium.
Right.
And you see that performance continue to just, and Dillinger rode that wave right through Vegas, like he continued, he had that. And imagine the amount of confidence that guy was shooting with too. One of the, again, John Dillinger is just an amazing person. But
he trains really hard. He practices, a lot, more than people would suspect. And, I'm impressed that he does that, because he's got more kids than I do, and I don't know how people do it.
Yeah, I know. I always tease him. I always tease him. I add a kid every time I see him. Like, how many kids you got now? Like 15? And Demmer too. And I've said that about Demmer. I don't know anyone that shoots more than Demmer. Maybe not right now, because I know he's not feeling the best. But like when it comes to preparing for and working toward a tournament, I don't know. John Demmer will never be outworked. If you win, you're fortunate. You might have got lucky in a head-to-head or something like that, but that dude works harder at being consistent than anyone I know.
I don't know how he can shoot a bow with as much as he fishes. Like, I don't know how that works. I'm sure he's been lying to us for years about working.
Yeah.
This quarry thing, and
not lying about fishing. We see the proof of that.
We see the fish. I've never seen a picture of him working. I think that's total BS. I think he sits at home tying flies, shooting his bow, fishing. He doesn't work. Tara brings in all the money, and that's it.
You're probably right. I mean, he sits on the podcast and ties flies every once in a while. I have recorded podcasts with that guy tying flies in a Walmart parking lot. I think one,
Never at work though, right? Because
oh,
he doesn't work. Yeah.
no, one time I told him I was going to stop at the quarry and see him, and he came back right away. I was like, oh, no, 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 I'm not there. I was like, does this quarry really exist? Do you really have a place that you call work? Um, I think the only thing he works on is tear his nerves, and that's about it. But, and tying flies, of course.
Tying flies, fishing, shooting his bow.
Yeah, this is such a welcome conversation. It's nice to have someone to bust on him as much as I do, because usually I'm the recipient more than not. But
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's not commenting.
Well, he's not working. I know he's not working. He's probably fishing.
He is under the weather. I'll give him that. I'll give him credit. He's under the weather a little bit, but yeah, man. So anything else you want to? I think we hammered home that conversation pretty well. Anything else you want to talk about, or?
So I remember, just back to managing expectations. I stopped wrestling junior year of college, and maybe a year later, I was getting invited to a tournament, kind of an off-season tournament, and I felt like I wanted to wrestle again. But the thing was, a year earlier, I was competing at the highest level of my life. I was surrounded by wrestling coaches, and 6 days a week I was working out, and there was just no way that I was going to go back and do something that I had a lot of pride in, that I had worked most of my life doing. I wasn't going to just go back and, out of shape, get on a mat again, because it's just not the same. And it kind of takes away from something you had been doing. So I'm not trying to discourage anybody from shooting their bow. I just think it's important to manage your expectations, and it's not easy. And if you want to be good at it, if you're struggling with target anxiety or stuff like that, you just have to work through it. And there's no substitute for, pulling the string back, doing drills and shooting your bow. So I think that's the first thing. Make a decision about what you want to do. If you just want to shoot your local league and then go shoot a few tournaments,
That's fine.
That's fine. And just, manage your expectations, and you'll enjoy it more. But if you don't have time to do it, if you don't have time to practice a lot, don't beat yourself up over it. Go in relaxed and let it happen. But that's just bringing me back to how we started the conversation before you were recording, is that if you've got a kid who hasn't been able to, because of the holidays or COVID or whatever's keeping them away from their bow, I guess help them understand that day, that competition might just be kind of a practice session for the next time they compete. Because when I see people go down and fall into that pit of despair when they're competing, most of the time you don't get out of it until the next day. Sometimes the next line you could get out, or the next day, but most people can't recover mid tournament. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, and just follow up on that. So those two specific shooters, one had a 30-point increase in the second half, and the other one had a 10-point increase in the second half. And and by the disciplines they shoot, those are significant numbers. So, again, and I want to back up a little bit when you were talking about, like, well, maybe that tournament is just a it's like a shooting session. Your expectations are null. What I want people to realize is, like, if you want to shoot the max amount of really good arrows in preparation for something, and you should have seen the light bulbs go on at the seminar when I talked about this. When you shoot blind bail, everyone, your shots are nearly perfect every time. when you do a draw hold and you let the tip of the arrow float in the middle of the target, if that's not what your shot is like, then you know what you need to work on. You should be able to do that every time. If you can't, you understand when you do a draw hold and you put that in the middle, that's a perfect shot. It's only a portion of the shot,
Yeah.
but it's a perfect shot. Think about the idea of you get better by shooting an arrow as good as possible, as much as possible. So if you're able to break down that shot and do it perfect or near perfect as often as possible, you're going to improve. I said it at every seminar, and I'll say it on this podcast, and I've said it before. You take a month before a tournament, you don't even have to shoot a scored arrow, and just do a copious amount of drills, 3-5 days a week, whatever. You will shoot better at that tournament than if you just shot scored arrows every day, 3 days a week, whatever, leading up to the tournament.
Yeah.
I will put money on it. And the same goes for hunting too. I don't understand the idea of just shooting 3D shoots or shooting in the backyard. I don't get it. Other than the knowledge base, the idea of, well, the hell I need to shoot shooting drills for? I'm killing animals at yards. I still, to this day, will tell everyone you need to be doing shooting drills. They are the bread and butter of becoming better at archery. Period. So
they're uniquely important for barebow too, because for barebow competition, we don't have tension releases, and we don't have, blade clickers. So a lot of bow hunters, I highly recommend putting a string clicker on your bow, because it helps make you a better shot. But in barebow competition, because we're not shooting with, draw checks, drills are really important. So now I realize I need to come and sit through your full clinic, because as much as we've talked, I don't know the full beginning to end of the Barebow Project clinic, and I need to come and see it. So
I'll send you the presentation to watch, and you can peruse it beforehand. So and while you said that, and again, as a perfect opportunity, John Demmer and myself are teaching an advanced barebow seminar at my facility, the new Grass Hollow Archery. If you've seen the pictures,
nice.
I promise you, I will not make you do any burpees or pull-ups or deadlifts or back squats, unless you really want to, and we can work that out. But I had a young lady, Samantha Ensign. I think you know the Ensign family from Lancaster.
Yeah.
They were up and shot the feet at my place this weekend, and she broke the 1825 meter Olympic recurve cadet record at our facility. And I took a picture with her. I was like, Samantha, you don't understand. This is the first record to be broken in the new facility. She's like, you're not going to make me do burpees. I was like, no, you don't have to do anything. But when her mom saw or showed Sam the pictures of the place, she was like, what are you getting me into? Where am I going? Because it's rubber floors and weightlifting platforms and stuff like that.
I saw the wall ball stripes on the wall.
Wall ball stripes, yep, underneath the pull-up rig, and which has been, dude, it has been amazing, because I stopped coaching CrossFit and Olympic weightlifting to do archery and to coach archery. Yeah. I tried to do both for a while. It was just too, so now I'm able to go back, and I can go in there. Oh yeah, it's been amazing. The recovery time isn't amazing. Excuse me. But it's just so nice to have both of them under one roof. I'm not gonna lie. I feel so blessed with that situation. But it's definitely not your what's the word? Standard archery training center, archery shop. Yeah. It's definitely a different feel. So that everyone said, they walk in there and they see
different smell, probably too.
The whole thing. Yeah. Oh, definitely that. Definitely that. Yeah. I know what you're saying. So, but it's just kind of cool, and huge weight off of my shoulders. I think I've been carrying for a couple of years at this point.
But, I can tell. I'm happy for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. So anyways, you're all invited to that Barebow seminar check it out online. You can sign
What's
up
the
for
date?
it. I have to double check. It's the weekend before the classic, and that was
Okay.
intentional. It's the 22nd. So 21st, we all get together and shoot on Friday night, and then 22nd, 23rd, all day. And we did it the weekend before the classic because people might be traveling. It's easier to
Yeah.
just come in for the week, do the seminar, and then stick around. Now, and then Demmer and I are also doing a shortened seminar, a free one
At the classic.
at the classic, but it's not really a seminar. It's actually going to be a target panic discussion of
Yeah.
sorts. And it's going to be geared toward Barebow, but it's going to be geared toward coaches and compound Olympic recurve shooters to basically talk to coaches and say, like, listen, this is what we've learned shooting and competing and coaching Barebow, and this is how you can apply it to compound and Olympic recurve.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know.
Full circle.
Well, trying to. How many
Yeah.
coaches are actually going to attend it? They're like, oh, it's a Barebow seminar. They might not. We'll have to talk to PJ about that. Make sure that he advertises it correctly. But it's to take the target panic idea and say, well, what are you doing, and how and then for
Yeah.
us, for people to say, well, this is what I have going on. How do I address it? Or what would you do? Or how would you go about fixing this? Same for compound Olympic recurve, and then also kind of tying it together for the coaches. So we'll see how it goes. I don't think anyone's ever, no, I know no one's ever really done that. So we'll see how it goes. But
Cool.
yeah, so yeah, if you guys want to attend that, that would be great. And that's pretty much it. I'm good. I don't want to keep you too late. You might need some rest. So I don't want to.
I'm good. Yeah, I know. I look old and tired. Kids are in bed. I enjoyed our time. Frank, thank you for calling me and inviting me on tonight. Looking forward to the next few months of big tournaments coming up. So
let's go through some comments quick here, John, before I let you go. Okay. We got just a bunch of people saying they miss you, like Ashish and Dan and Santo. And let's see here. Tracy Yost.
Hi, Tracy.
Cody Greenwood.
Hi, Cody. Santo.
I don't know. Cornelius McDonald. I don't know Cornelius personally, but he said, you guys just fixed my problem talking to my wife tonight. I don't know what that means. I am so happy for you, Cornelius. Sanjay's there. You're welcome, Sanjay. He just said thanks for the great talk. So Dan, we already gave you the information about when the seminar is. It's the weekend before the classic. So come on down.
Hey, Dan.
Dan will call you.
Miss you, buddy.
Good dude. Real good dude. But no questions or anything. Mike Holson just logged in. He said, good to see you, John.
Hey, Michael.
Yeah, so he's been listening along the way. But all right, I guess that's it. Nobody else commented. So thanks for joining me, dude. I appreciate it. It's so nice to see you, although I can kind of see you when I wanted to, I guess, if I wanted. But and we'll hook up. I'll see you at ATA as well, and we can chat there a little bit. And anybody else, if you guys have any questions about this podcast, or if you need help, I mean, reach out to us. Try to attend the seminar. I really think, not you, John, but you should too, but everybody else, like, I honestly think you will have an experience that, like, you're going to learn things that you haven't even thought of. And you have to understand, this is a 3-year accumulation of talking to some of the best brains and performers in the sport. That's what this seminar is developed from. And plus I'm so thankful that Demmer is going to actually get to make this one. He's going to be there. And he's like, in many ways, he's my mentor from a shooting side and especially a tuning side. I just, from the educator that I am and my experience as a teacher, I just deliver it maybe in a little bit of a different way and come at it from a different coaching aspect. But I hope you guys can consider making that. I think it will really have a positive impact on your approach to your barebow for the rest of your life. So, all right, John, peace out, my man. It was good to talk with you. We'll talk to you later.
You too, Frank. Good night.
See you, dude.